In 2022, we celebrate 130 years of HBCU football. On December 27th, 1892, Livingstone and Biddle College, now known as Johnson C. Smith University, played in Salisbury, North Carolina, with Biddle winning 5-0. Over time, HBCU football has evolved. HBCU football's popularity continues to rise. Millions attend games each year and millions more watch on television. The HBCU bands provide some of the top entertainment in the country. Over that time, some of the best players to ever play in the National Football League played at HBCUs. Every Monday through Friday on the HBCU Football Daily Podcast, national radio and television host Donal Ware takes a look at what's happening in HBCU football and talks with coaches, players, administrators, and media about the 2022 season. Make sure you join the conversation on social media by using the hashtag HBCU130. Now, here's your host, Donal Ware.
You got it locked to the HBCU Football Daily Podcast for today, Wednesday, September 14th. I'm Donal Ware. It's the Humpday edition of the HBCU Football Daily Podcast, and this is where we start to transition now into week 3 of the HBCU football season. Before we do that, want to take a look at the HBCU Division II coaches poll powered by BOXTOROW. And so we have a new number 1 team with Bowie State falling to Saginaw State. Virginia Union with a big-time victory over Valdosta State. We talked about that on Takeaway Tuesday on yesterday. Virginia Union garnered 13 first-place votes and is the new number 1 in the Division II coaches poll, followed by Albany State at number 2, Bowie State at number 3, Benedict, who is also undefeated at 2-0, and Fayetteville State rounds out the top 5, 6 through 10. Fort Valley State also undefeated. We talked about them yesterday. West Virginia State, Savannah State, Virginia State, and Lane. Of course, if you want to see that poll, you can log on to our website at boxtorow.com. One thing that I missed yesterday with respect to Takeaway Tuesday, I forgot to talk about the in excess of 102,000 people to see LSU play Southern. And I mean, that is extraordinary. And I'm gonna share this with you. When I looked last year, the 2 non-conference games that LSU hosted at home, one was against McNeese State, the other against Central Michigan. The Central Michigan game had in excess of 92,000. The McNeese State game had in excess of 94,000. You got to figure that McNeese probably, with it being in Louisiana, probably brought a crowd. But that just shows you, to me, the first of all, we know Southern travels well. The 2 best HBCUs in terms of traveling have to be Southern and Jackson State. And I'm not saying it's in that order, but I mean, Southern has always been known to travel extremely well. So when you can have 8 more thousand fans in a stadium, I mean, I'm sure that game had to be sold out. What does LSU Stadium hold? I knew it was in excess of 100,000, 102,000 plus. I mean, you know, that just shows you the power not only of Southern's fans, but with the right HBCU fan base, the power of HBCU fan bases. And this is why, is a couple of reasons why even Power Fives schedule HBCUs. Number 1, you know, a lot of times it's about the band. You know, people want to see the band perform. That's just the reality of the situation in a lot of, if not most instances. Okay. Number 2 is you're going to get a good gate. It just depends on where you are. I mean, that just made sense. Like, those schools are both right in Baton Rouge. So that just made sense. I mean, on Saturday, for instance, you've got the A&T and Duke game. I mean, you know it's going to be a great contingency of A&T fans that are going to be at Duke. I mean, Duke is in Durham. From Greensboro, it's about it's less than an hour, but it's not even about the fans making the trip from Greensboro or even the students. Is about the A&T fan base all across the state that has a great presence in Durham, that has a great presence in the Triangle, that has a great presence throughout the state. So that just shows the power of the HBCU fan base as well, especially when these Power Fives schedule these games. And you're going to see a lot more Power Fives, I think, scheduling HBCUs. I mean, we saw right here in North Carolina, UNC decided to do an HBCU celebration game and brought Florida A&M in. I don't, to me, it makes more sense if you bring a Central in or an A&T in. But I mean, scheduling these games are scheduled well in advance. So Florida A&M, it's an HBCU, and it was certainly a bit of a celebration. Willie Simmons, the head coach of Florida A&M, obviously no stranger to UNC, having played his collegiate football at Clemson. So let's transition now. Week 3 of the NFL season. We're going to take a look at the schedule. Things get kicked off tomorrow. As a matter of fact, Benedict and Savannah State going to get together. This should be a really good football game. I mean, you've got a Savannah State team, as I mentioned, ranked in the Division II coaches poll, HBCU coaches poll, and Benedict is undefeated. And this is an Eastern Division matchup of the SIAC. That's a big time. I mean, that's a big time football game right there. Albany State going to be hosting Shorter. It's an opportunity for Albany State to bounce back after the loss to Florida A&M. As you can see, the coaches did not penalize Albany State. Now, you couldn't, they didn't raise them to the number 1 ranking. Virginia Union deserved that, I think, because you beat a perennial power in Valdosta State, but didn't penalize them. Albany State still received first place votes and are still ranked number 2 in the HBCU Division II coaches poll. Big time game. Jackson State is hosting Grambling. This could very well, I'll look at the schedule. I mean, if I had to look at it, looking at them, it's definitely in contention for the HBCU game of the week, which of course we will preview on Friday. That should be a really good football game. Jackson State has been phenomenal defensively, hasn't given up a touchdown all year. Meanwhile, Grambling State put up 47 points against Northwestern State. And that this should be an outstanding, really an outstanding football game. We get into conference play now. Johnson C. Smith in the CIAA going to be hosting Shawan, even though that is a interdivisional conference matchup between South and North. Kentucky State is hosting Dayton. Bowie State is Shaw. Shaw is hosting Bowie State, and I got that backwards. Shawan is hosting Johnson C. Smith, not the other way around. Shawan is hosting Johnson C. Smith. Jackson State's hosting Grambling. West Virginia State continues conference play in the Mount East Conference, going to be hosting Fairmont State. Bluefield State off to the 1-1 start, receiving votes in the HBCU Division II coaches poll. Is going to be hosting Central State. Elizabeth City State is hosting Winston-Salem State. Morgan State going to be at home looking for its first victory of the season, hosting Sacred Heart. It's a winnable game for Morgan, a good opportunity. And again, Damon Wilson has that Morgan program, even though 0-2 right now, going, I think, in the right direction. Alabama A&M looking for its first victory of the season at a tough opening couple of games. Going to be hosting Austin Peay. Lane hosting Clark Atlanta. Langston is hosting Wayland Baptist. Tuskegee is going to be on the road taking on West Alabama. Delaware State is hosting Virginia University of Lynchburg. It's Fort Valley State at home against Allen. Norfolk State and Hampton battling it out in the Battle of the Bay. Norfolk State looking for its first victory of the season. Meanwhile, we talked about 2-0 teams yesterday. Hampton is one of those 2-0 teams. Big test really for both teams. Norfolk State looking to get off the schneid. Florida Memorial is hosting Warner. Howard and Morehouse are going to get together in New Jersey. Southern is hosting Texas Southern. Texas Southern's got a pretty good offense, good quarterback in Bodie. Southern's got a good football team coming off a loss to LSU, but we'll see if Southern is able to rebound. But that should be a good football game. I think that's going to be a good football game. Lincoln of Missouri, boy, it's been tough times there in Missouri for Lincoln hosting Fort Hays. That is an MIAA matchup. Tennessee State on the road at Middle Tennessee State. Miles is hosting Valdosta State. We just talked about Virginia Union, HBCU beating Valdosta State. Now Miles has to contend now with Valdosta State. Miles is looking for its first victory of the season. Mississippi Valley State is hosting Delta State. Delta State is a Division II team. We'll see Mississippi Valley State looking to get its first victory of the season. Texas College has just been some tough years. I mean, if I'm being honest, we've been doing this 17 years. So this is the 18th season of football. And I can't remember where Texas College may have won more than 3 games in any one season. And this is it's a conference game, a Sooner Athletic conference game, just like the game that Langston is playing in. And so, let's see what Texas College is able to do. You've got Arkansas Pine Bluff stepping up, Power 5, playing at Oklahoma State. Prairie View A&M is hosting Incarnate Word. As I mentioned, A&T is going to be on the road in Durham, taking on Duke. North Carolina Central stepping up. Matter of fact, taking on number 25 ranked in FBS, New Hampshire. I can remember New Hampshire not that long ago was an FCS program. Virginia State at home taking on St. Aug's. Virginia State looking for back-to-back victories. Meanwhile, St. Aug's, boy, it's been a tough season so far for the Falcons, looking for their first victory of the season. Virginia Union looking to continue its momentum coming off the big win against Valdosta State, going to be hosting Livingstone. Alcorn State, tough road so far, 0-2 on the season, playing or on the road at McNeese State, a winnable game. It's a winnable game for Alcorn State. And then Lincoln of Pennsylvania, which is 1-1, right? At home hosting Fayetteville State. Now, Fayetteville State is the 4-time defending Southern Division champion. And so, we'll see. I think Lincoln under Josh Dean is improved. But I mean, Fayetteville State is good. I mean, Fayetteville State is good. And, William Hayes has got a really good program there in Fayetteville. So again, that's a look at the schedule for week 3 for today's HBCU Football Daily Podcast as we transition now into week 3 of HBCU football. Don't forget to tell a couple of friends about the HBCU Football Daily Podcast, where you can find us on our website, BOXTOROW.com, airing Monday through Friday. Also, you can find us on iHeartMedia.com or wherever you get your podcasts. And this year, and now, we're also airing on the BOXTOROW YouTube page. Talk with you tomorrow.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the HBCU Football Daily Podcast. You can also listen to the podcast at BOXTOROW.com, iHeartMedia, or wherever you get your podcasts. Don't forget to get your HBCU football fix on BOXTOROW with Donal Ware each weekend on the radio station near you, and on SiriusXM on HBCU, Channel 142, and on ESPNU Radio on SiriusXM, Channel 84. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at BOXTOROW for the latest in HBCU football, and don't forget to tell a friend.